Back on the Vanguard, the atmosphere was tense. The knowledge gleaned from Xyler about the Uthran technology was both a treasure trove and a Pandora's box. The crew gathered in the ship's strategy room to discuss their next steps. Captain Elara Mitchell stood at the head of the table, her presence commanding attention. We now possess the potential to revolutionize our own technology, thanks to the Uthorans. Mitchell began, her eyes scanning the faces of her crew. But we must be mindful of the risks. Lieutenant Nakamura, you've spent the most time with Xyler. What is your assessment? Nakamura, seated next to Dr. Marcus Steele and Commander Raj Patel, took a deep breath. The Uthorans are a highly advanced species, but their society is fractured. Xyler represents a cooperative faction, but there are others who are wary, even hostile. The technology they've shared with us is incredible, but using it responsibly will be a challenge. Dr. Steele leaned forward, his expression a mixture of excitement and concern. Their stasis technology could revolutionize our approach to long-term space travel and medical science. But if misused, it could lead to catastrophic consequences. We need to ensure we fully understand it before attempting to integrate it into our systems. Commander Patel, ever the strategist, interjected. We also need to consider the political implications. Sharing this technology with Earth could provoke tensions. Nations might compete for access, leading to potential conflicts. Captain Mitchell nodded. Our primary mission is to ensure mutual benefit. We can't afford to make enemies here. But how do we proceed? Do we focus on helping the Uthorans first, or do we prioritize our own needs? The discussion was interrupted by a sudden alert from the ship's AI. Athena. Captain, incoming transmission from the Uthoran surface. Mitchell activated the main display, and Xyler's holographic form appeared, flickering slightly. Captain Mitchell, we have a problem. A faction of Uthorans who oppose our alliance with you is mobilizing. They believe humans are a threat and must be driven away. Mitchell's eyes narrowed. How many are we talking about, Xyler? Xyler's image seemed to waver. A few hundred, but they are determined and possess weaponry from before the Great Sundering. They are led by Xyler, a former military leader who harbors deep mistrust of outsiders. The crew exchanged worried glances. Commander Patel spoke first. We need to act fast. If Xyler's faction attacks, it could jeopardize everything. Nakamura stood up. Captain, we need to go down there and negotiate. We can't let this escalate into violence. Dr. Steele agreed. We also need to secure the technology we've found. If Xyler's faction gets their hands on it, they could use it against us. Agreed. Reyes, you and your team will provide security. The team suited up and prepared for another descent to the Uthran surface. The once serene landscape now felt charged with impending conflict. Captain, thank you for coming. Xyler greeted them, his holographic form shimmering. We must move quickly. Mitchell nodded. Lead the way, Xyler. Let's try to resolve this peacefully. The group made their way through the alien wilderness, the bioluminescent plants casting an eerie glow on their path. They arrived at the power station, a massive structure partially reclaimed by nature but still imposing. Xyler's faction was already there, armed and ready. Xyler, a formidable Uthran with a stern expression, stepped forward. Humans, you are not welcome here. Leave now or face the consequences. Captain Mitchell raised her hands in a gesture of peace. We come in peace, Xyler. We seek only to learn and to help. There's no need for violence. Xyler's eyes narrowed. Help? Your kind seeks only to exploit. We will not let history repeat itself. Nakamura stepped forward. Xyler, listen to us. We have no intention of exploiting your people. We want to learn from you and work together. The technology we've discovered could benefit both our species. Xyler seemed to waver for a moment, but his resolve hardened. Words mean nothing. Actions do. Leave now or we will force you to. At that moment, the tension broke and a skirmish erupted. Xyler's faction fired their ancient but still potent weapons, and the humans took cover, returning fire with their advanced gear. Captain Mitchell, seeing the conflict escalating, activated her comms.
Athena, iniziate a non lethal countermeasure.
Deploy stun drones. Within moments, the Uthorans fell to the ground, stunned but alive. Xylar himself was brought down by a pulse, his defiance frozen in a moment of shock. The battlefield fell silent, and Captain Mitchell stepped forward, addressing both her crew and the stunned Uthorans. This is not the way. We came here seeking peace and cooperation, not conflict. Xylar, we need to work together, or we risk losing everything. Xylar moved to stand beside Mitchell. Xylar, please. Our survival depends on unity, not division. We must learn from our past mistakes. Slowly, Xylar regained his senses, looking around at the fallen members of his faction. His eyes softened, and he seemed to reconsider. Perhaps there is another way. The humans and Uthorans began to help each other up, tending to the wounded and dismantling weapons. The tentative alliance had faced its first major test, and while the path ahead was still fraught with challenges, there was a glimmer of hope. Back on the Vanguard, Captain Mitchell convened another meeting. We've made progress, but the road to cooperation is long. We need to ensure that both our people understand the importance of this alliance. Dr. Steele, reflecting on the day's events, added, we also need to study their technology carefully. If we can harness it responsibly, it could lead to breakthroughs that benefit everyone. Commander Patel, always the strategist, concluded, we must remain vigilant, but for now we have a chance. Captain Mitchell looked around the room, her resolve unshaken. Then let's make the most of it. For Earth, for the Uthorans, and for the future of both our civilizations. The crew of the Vanguard and their Uthran allies had taken the first steps towards a new era of cooperation. The journey ahead would be difficult, but the potential for a brighter future was worth every risk.